of the 11 Tier 2 seasons. RPL has only been here in France 3 previous times, and it's now time to see, on the 4th time, who can take victory tonight in France. And Paul Ricard. Welcome along, folks. I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles, and shortly I'll be joined by Eoin McMoran. Let's go over some headlines for tonight's event. As soon as Redfire Tiger joins us tonight, if he is joining us, it will be his home race. It's also Alpine's home race as a team. Groggers is now full-time at Williams. He gone from the Ferrari Academy to Mercedes, and he dropped down from F1 Tier 1 to Tier 2. We've got some drivers on loan, which we'll go over in a little bit. But Eoin is now here to explain that we got short qualifying. Hello.
There we go. Should be a now. Testing
Let's see.
1 2 3. Currently hitting the
Yes.
grid D. Yes, lovely. Yeah, so I just went with
Awesome.
short quality because I messaged. I was in a party with Jack, and as an owner, we came together to let's just give short quality a go. And for some reason, I actually don't have anything on my screen, which is really cool.
I've got things on my screen.
I literally
Let me just
can't
check.
see. Hopefully, it fixes it if someone comes out on track.
The new AlphaTauri driver just left the session. I'll get him an invite back, since you can't see much on your screen.
I can see the pit lane, but I can't pause the game or anything like that, which is really weird.
Gotcha.
I
Doesn't
think
show
it's
him
fixed.
online. I can see the pit lane. Let me just enable things here for the stream. We'll go over the championship standings in just a moment, but the big storyline before any loans, Groggers goes from Tier 1 to Tier 2. He got the promotion to Ferrari, of course, when racing Tier 1. He had a few good races here and there. He had more pace than results, it seemed. Eoin, your thoughts on this being a good friend of George's and also now a part of the car you ended up finishing off in Tier 2 with last season?
I'm expecting him to actually be good at the game, which would be preferable. But I'm just currently dealing with apparently people having issues with the quality lobby and because nobody's coming out on track.
Yes, his time is
So
loading yet they're not in. From what I think Bonkers said.
what happened to Bonky? What did he do?
Minions said time is going down, but Bonkers is still loading.
Did he leave yet?
And it shows, as Bonkers did
left.
just leave, it shows him retired from the session.
Yes, it's fixed.
Guess it is, but at the same time, though, it has Bonkers retiring from the session. I think wouldn't he have
Yes,
to
he
serve that? I
has.
know he was in lineups, but wouldn't he have to serve that anyway, though, because he was late to the session, or did it not matter? Because he was already in lineups.
I don't think he would. He was in lineups and stuff.
Okay. Well, I'll go over the drivers on loan tonight, let alone reserving or making their first starts. Minions is returning to RPL Tier 2. He's in Alfa Romeo tonight. George, we spoke about the change. He is now in Williams, and he is also the third most, on the list for the most podiums at third. Sorry, that was all messed up. I should have thought that out. Bonkers obviously joined back the session. He's here as a late driver. We've got let's see. I think it was Joe Wilson not here last week for Mercedes. There was someone not here for Mercedes last week. I think it was yep, it was him, not here. He's back after missing last week. RSF1 Invade has got the call up to Ferrari to race for them tonight. The full-time Alfa Romeo driver is going to be getting a shot in a top car once again. And this is because Ardell is not here. We also have Carvinus, the AlphaTauri driver for tonight, on loan, I believe. The driver making his debut in RPL Tier 2. We've got FBL reserving. He's in Alfa Romeo. Phoenix is also known as Liam. He is reserving tonight for Alpine, and I think that's about it, Owen, unless I'm wrong.
Yes, I think I was just having a little conversation with Bonky. He's obviously upset, but he understands that I can't restart for one person. Otherwise, I would be just as bad host as Zatsy was last week, bless him. But I believe Zatsy actually joined the game, which is not fun.
I did see that.
So I need to.
I did see that.
Don't know why
You know,
he's done that.
oh boy. Minions is saying there is rain in the race. So we're going to be getting a dry qualifying, but a wet race. We'll go on board with our outlaps from drivers here in just a little bit. I just want to speak of the championship standings. If you watch the championship leader, Grandpa has a 21-point lead over J&T, which is 23 points over Hunted. And then Joe, Wilson, and Mintoki are 33 points back. The constructor standings, Red Bull lead by 19 points. Mercedes are 27 points back. McLaren are 28 points back. Aston Martin are still kind of within range of the leaders, but they only have one driver who scored this season, it seems, thus far. As for teams who have not scored this season, Alfa Romeo, they're the only one. I just want to speak about Grandpa as we're on board with him, Owen. I'll be honest with you right now, just early championship thought here, with him being full-time now for Red Bull after the first round. I don't see any way he can lose this championship anymore with this season being in Red Bull. Obviously, he was in McLaren a couple seasons ago, but that one he had the car disadvantage compared to Hunted. And right now, the three championship protagonists kind of seems like season 10 a little bit, 2 seasons ago when it was Grandpa versus Hunted. It's Grandpa versus Hunted as a rematch, but they're both in different cars. And then the Ferrari that's in there this
They've
time in the
swapped
mix is
cars.
J&T, taking over where George was.
Is Hunted and Grandpa have swapped cars, so let's see if Hunted can put the fight to Grandpa when they've got the different drive the different cars. Obviously, Hunted was very much benefited by the Red Bull in this championship winning season, as most drivers are in Tier 2. And Grandpa is absolutely taking full advantage of it so far this season. Minions is going to be the next driver to cross the line with a proper lap time.
I just wanted to say that Grandpa has the most races as championship leader in Tier 2 without winning the championship.
Wow.
So, surely it's his time. And although Zatsy is no longer in the league, as we did mention he joined the session, I'm sure he'll be rooting him on. Minions second across the line, the only other car to cross the line. I think the only one that will be next
Here
is
comes
Invade.
Invade. And the Ferrari.
Now, he got a good opportunity here in Abu Dhabi, Formula Endurance, for Ferrari. 4/10 off. That's not too bad for a banker, I will tell you that right now. I think George is going to be the next one, if I'm correct, unless it's Dom. We're going to see if it's Dom or George.
I think it'll be George.
We'll go on board with Dom, actually. We'll go on board with Dom through this back straight, because I want to see if this is going to be an effective slipstream from the Alfa Romeo Academy teammate of Minions. It's a little bit of a slipstream here that he's getting. It'll gain him a few hundredths. Dom had an impressive race last week in Austria, too, where he got top 10 in qualifying and got top 10 in the race, and now we're going to see if George can get in the top 10 come the end of qualifying for Williams. This is interesting, though, because you have a lot of information with this car, Owen. Tell us about it. And also, one other question. Are you feeling any better from last week?
Well, firstly, yes, I'm much better. I've actually had some ice cream there, so I'm actually enjoying my day a lot better than I was last week. I actually had hallucinations last week, really bad. But yes, the Williams car, I found it's slow, but it's really fun to drive. Like it's a good handling car, but it's just not quick. So it sort of fitted. It was perfect with my driving style. I like a nice, grippy car, so I can just rag it through the corners. And it worked, and I think that's where I sort of made the difference a little bit in the Williams because of its stability, especially mixed with the setups I was using. But yeah, it was very enjoyable experience.
This qualifying session is going to be all over the place because of the fact that some guys will probably be on wet setups, some guys will be on altered setups where it's mostly designed for wet a wet race, but they adjust their setup in qualifying
That's
and
true. I didn't think about
before
that.
the race.
People
We
are
got
gonna be using
hunted
more
third
setups.
because of that. J&T crossed the line, Kipu crossed the line. We have a couple others on laps as well. We'll watch some of our big name drivers like JTK now, who is a two-time winner in RPL Tier 2 now. I recently spoke to his younger brother, Make PK, who has 5
what?
races left of that race ban of the 20 drivers. Of the
Who's
20 races he
who's
had
Nate's brother?
from that race ban. JTK is.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm only finding this
JTK
out
crosses the
now.
line to go fastest.
Interesting.
What were you saying?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was just speaking to him not too long ago, and Red Fire Tiger has finally joined us, by the way. And the interesting thing I picked up on from what Make PK said is that he said he has gained pace since then, and may I return in the future. Don't know. Just the way it was presented, it kind of sugarcoated it. He didn't say it directly, so I'm interested to see if we can have a brother duo back here in RPL. I mean, the last time besides them that we had a family-related duo that I can recall is Aaron Ocon and Polo God, 2 cousins racing. So maybe we can get that back in the future, but the Dutch driver's 1-2 in qualifying right now. Let's see what the academy teammate to JTK, Mintoki, can do. She's been someone who's really impressed me throughout the first 2 races and throughout her opening stints of races in RPL since Imola last season, Eoin. I know I gave her a lot of credit in Austria, and Egg was mentioning a little bit too much credit, but last season, Eoin, Titan predicted Valk in an Aston Martin to win a race. I think he predicted the wrong Aston driver to win a race here.
No, the wrong female Aston driver. She goes P4 ahead of Hunted. So yes,
That's a pretty good
as
lap.
far as I'm aware, at least, it's the first female driver to look top tier 2 pace. Valk's obviously a quick driver. I know. I'm not trying to slander or anything, but Valk is not top tier 2 pace. She's more, I'd say, like midfield tier 2, which is.
You can say top F2 pace though, for sure.
Oh yes, F2. She was very good, to be fair. Yes.
Yeah, 3 wins there. 1 podium here in tier 2, and that's it.
But
Spain
in the
2
F1
seasons
cars, I'd say Mintoki's definitely the most impressive woman driver in RPL I've seen so far. And from what I've known, there's only been 2 or 3. So maybe we've got a secret. Maybe JTK is a woman. We don't know.
Oh, all right then. We got Wavy Knife across the line, P8, and something I wanted to mention. I think a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks ago. Sorry, last week, a week ago, is the fact that now that Blue Goggy has a rest of the season ban, Wavy Knife should really go out well here with the rest of the races this season. He won't have a driver that he's constantly focused on trying to be out of the way of and not colliding with. So really, the excuses from Wavy Knife in terms of bad performances are over. He's had 2 DNFs here to start the season, the only driver to DNF in both races thus far. Joe Wilson coming through the final sector now. Let's give you some commentary on this circuit though. We've only ran here 3 times prior in RPL Tier 2, and we've had some impressive ones at that. We've had a Mercedes on pole in 2 of the 3 previous races here, and funny enough, this is where the underdogs seem to take over. McLaren, Season 3 win here. AlphaTauri, a Season 1 win here. And also Strat Racer as well, last season in this race. Got a podium on a last lap crash for Mercedes. What does Joe Wilson do coming across the line? This is not the best of laps, but I'm going to have to assume if he was pushing, this has to be a very much a wet favored setup. Grandpa Goes Faster we saw in the background.
There's no way a wet setup cost you 3 or 1.8 seconds.
Surely not, but he must
just
have
had
it really figured
had
out
a
then, and really
stinker.
tuned out. If he was trying, at least. RSF1 Invade just improved to 3rd place. Now we're going to go with the home hero, Red Fire Tiger. Red Fire Tiger at his home race here in France. The last time he was at his home race here in RPL in F1 cars, he ended up scoring a P6 finish for Alpine back in the Season 7 running of this race. Joseph Loke's last F1 win. Also, something to note from that, he beat a lot of really good drivers that race Red Fire. Luke was one of them. that he beat. I know Luke was in an Alfa Romeo. I forget who was in a Red Bull, but he also beat a Red Bull and a Mercedes, I'm pretty sure, too, from that race. So Red Fire Tiger, when he started P15 in the grid for Alpine and got to P6, it's something that is not remembered a lot for a home race that was not a win, but was an impressive drive. And now here we go to the last sector. Let's take over on Red Fire Tiger's lap. I'll give it to you, Eoin, when we come to the last two corners. But this corner right here, maybe these two corners, it could be called, but it's only one corner that it's resulted in turn 11 there on the run to turn 12. There's a lot of lines you can take in that corner, but not really hitting the apex there at 12 into 13 that well.
We're going to wee bit wide and cutting back in to take the line there. Very good lines in these last two corners anyway. Getting the throttle done very early, very nice. Get the DRS open. Don't want to cost too much time to go to the line, and he's last of the people who've set a lap.
I feel like if any of these laps these guys are pushing, they're really not used to their wet setup on a dry track. JTK improved and split both Ferraris. The other AlphaTauri, Tadpole, all invalidated. Mythic is next across the line to make sure Red Fire Tiger is not slowest anymore. Kipu's invalidated. Hunted's on a lap. I'll go on board with Hunted and talk about these final 2-3 corners. This area creates so much racing. I mean, we saw it on the final lap of the Tier 1 race, Eoin. Right in this area, this is exactly where it can be decided.
100%. I have no idea what you were saying. I was listening, looking at what Bonk is telling me. He needed an invite or something. What was the question?
I was just going to say, those final few corners which Hunted improved on and went faster with, that's where it all can be decided. JTK fastest.
Really easy to... Oh, JTK putting a fight to pole! Really easy to just get the line, because the last few corners sort of blend together. If you mess up one of them, you've messed up the rest of them. So if you ace it, you gain a lot of time. And for some drivers, clearly they're not acing it, like Mr. Wilson. I don't know why he's doing relishing down in P11 in that Mercedes. He should not be there.
Very disappointing from the Swedish driver. We're going to get a lap of Mintoki in a moment. I'll give it to you, but something I just want to mention before this lap, Eoin. Track limits, very crucial in a lot of areas in this track. Most notably, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. Turn 5 is a fair area to mention. Very easy to lose it in 6 or 7. And then that chicane, 8 and 9, that can get tricky on a driver. And then I would even say the other notable spot, turn 14. Now to sector 2 with Mintoki. Take it away.
It's that first sector, they've been pretty much perfect lines from Mintoki. I've not been looking at the throttle application, so I don't know if she's maximising that, but the lines have been pretty good so far. Half a tenth up on her time. Looking to break into the top 5. Could have gained a lot more time by using a lot more curb with the chicane. Still a nice solid lap to rely upon if she's not using a wet setup. Bonky's trying to join the session, but it's full because Zatsy's in the fucking thing. So I'm gonna have to message him real quick.
Alrighty.
So I'm gonna have to use
You should watch the stream and engineer through there instead. I know he was able to get a spot a lot 2 seasons ago, engineering Grandpa, but when the session is full, you can't be preventing others from joining that. I'll cover Mintoki's lap, and then after that, we'll get to a different lap. Eoin, I'll go AFK for a moment, but 2.5 minutes remaining. If you're not out on track, get out on track now for pole position or improving places. Mintoki was trying to improve a place, but she backed off of the lap, and I think is going to have to recharge on this lap and then go again. Mythic has retired from the session and will be at best 15th. There are 2 guys behind that can beat Mythic, but that is where it's going to have to happen. FBL just went through turn 1 and invalidated the lap time right there. For FBL, he was going to race last week, was trying to in his return, but didn't do so after the session restarted twice. Wavy Knife is on a lap for Aston Martin right now. Let's see what the Aston Martin teammate can do. This will be the last full lap we cover before pole position. Sector 1 looked better from Wavy, and those set of corners can easily be tough on a driver for traction, let alone hitting the apex right. It's all very flowing and all connected to each other in its own ways. 3 is connected to 4 and 5. 5 is connected to 6. 1 is connected to 2. And he has just got himself A lap
Violated.
time deleted.
Yes, I believe Boggy
So
joined the game there, so hopefully everything's okay for him.
we'll go to minions then. How about you go to minions? He's the one on a valid lap. He's the
He's about
only
to
one
start
now
it.
on a valid lap. I'll have you cover that while I go
There we
AFK quickly.
come. Using a lot of curve on the entrance of turn 1. Very nice. Oh, very good line there for Minions. Doing a very good lap, actually, so far in the Alfa Romeo to be P8. Beautiful through there, using a lot of curb. Excellent so far. These lines have been absolutely stellar. Nice and early on the throttle. Make sure you don't go full throttle through that corner, otherwise your rear end will go flying off the circuit onto the DRS straight. You need to pick your braking point to the perfect degree here. Make sure you don't go too early or too late. Good chicane, could have been better, but I'm sure he'll take that. He won't be too displeased. Not invalidated at least. You don't want to risk it too much. And he's up by a tenth and a half here. This could be a good lap to solidify his top 10 possible position in the Alfa Romeo. Through the carousel corner. I can't remember the correct name. But an absolute beautiful corner, and he's flew for it. It's absolutely stellar performance here from Minion so far in this Alfa Romeo. A beautiful line through there as well. Using all the exit curve, absolutely filthy. And then through the final two corners, not getting too wide, not getting carried away by the nature of the corner. And the final two corners have been absolutely exquisite. This has been a brilliant lap for Minions. I'm sure this will put him in a solid position for the grid. And he does improve by a tenth and a half. And it puts in P8, so that's a good lap.
All right. Redfire Tiger and the other AlphaTauri driver. They're the next ones. In his debut, he will be last of the ones who have got a lap time in. Joe Wilson needs to improve. He invalidated, though. Next up is Dom. Dom improving by 3/10. What can he do for Haas? How about fourth place? Fourth place from the driver who got points in Tier 2 last week and ended up having an FE win and FE pole. Redfire in his home race is going to start in the top 10 for now. JTK, by the way, retired from the session, will not be able to defend pole position. But now, what can the big runners do? JNT, who's up a 10th, is trying to claim another RPL pole position here in Tier 2. Only to his name previously is 1. And now, only a slight improvement. Grandpa, 7,000's down. Hunted cross the line, could not better it. Here comes Grandpa to try to take 3 for 3 on poles. Can he do it? No! JTK defends pole position from the pit lane and takes pole position number 4, the first for Mercedes this season.
69 milliseconds in it. It's been a very close. I don't know how close qualifying was last week. How close was it? Do you remember? Was it close?
I think it was for most of the session. I don't know if it ended up that way. I'll check now.
Sick. But yes, another close qualifying in this Tier 2 field. Siri Dom threatening a termination from Tier 2 if this keeps up.
All right, pole last week, 96,000. So our first 3 rounds for pole position have all been under a 10th. Dutch 1, 2. Then it's a Ferrari in 3rd, Haas 4th, McLaren 5th, 5 different constructors in the top 5. Minions, Wavy, Redfire, impressive starting spots up there. Redfire not far, or sorry, not Redfire. Invade not far off of his teammate as well, which is better in comparison to the last time he was in a top car in this tier. Also, outside of our top 10, just some notable names to mention that will have to recover from the back of the grid. Joe Wilson for Merc in 14th. We've got George in P11 for Williams. Just to mention, it is a wet race, so this car will probably propel better in these conditions. Bonkers for Red Bull 17th. Tadpole for McLaren 18th. All guys having to improve from their starting spots. But Minico says JTK got pole position with a wet setup. It's now time to give your predictions, chat. Wow. Pole position with a wet setup.
I suppose most of the grid would have been using wet setups, to be fair, but that is nice stuff from Mr. JTK at the Dutch front row. Turn the flag 90 degrees clockwise, and they're French.
All right. Well, if it is a full wet race here, like everyone else is saying, it'll be interesting to see how long the tires last before any pit stops. I'm not sure how much you lose in the pit lane here, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot more because of the wet.
Here we go.
Here comes the 5 red lights for France. It's time to bring the action.
Now?
And now we're away. We're away. 5 red lights, lights out, away we go. And they trumble off the line. Everybody from the first few rows absolutely sliding. You saw the Red Bull and the McLaren making moves, but it's side by side for the lead, and Grandpa takes over. Grandpa takes over the lead, and here comes JTK with a switchback of dreams on the inside. At the back of the field, Joe Wilson's lost places while Tadpole and Bonkers the big winner, but JTK sends it to take the lead. Dom there in the background to challenge for second place. Haas haven't had a podium in 3 seasons of Tier 2. He's trying to take that while Hunted is pressurizing him.
Let's go Froggers.
Look at the
Mintoki's on
positions
it,
gained
so
here.
go!
Incident at the back of the field, that's Mintoki. Mintoki around. Here's your positions gained. Bonkers 9 spots, your biggest winner. Mintoki the biggest loser on lap 1, but everybody here trying to get safely to the chicane. But it's a freaking gaggle here.
Oh my goodness gracious me, what am I saying? George has been spun round again, he's P18.
This time almost being fully spun around. Hunted is now challenging 3rd place. But this is full wet conditions as they trumble around here in Sector 3. Hunted goes for the send on the inside. Can he complete the overtake here? He's going to be wheel to wheel. Dom slides and almost careers right into the side of him. And Grandpa just had a little lag spike here. That's propelled him back here to this battle. And not much comfort for him now, but Hunted does claim 3rd place.
Joe Wilson is racing RG Bargy with a Williams here, so that's interesting. He needs to get a move on if he wants to recover. He's fallen positions. Oh, what is Liam doing?
He just gave a position back to Kipu and is now 3 wide. And here comes Mintoki to take them all off. Liam is losing tons of places here. It's absolutely chaos at the back of the field while everybody tries to scatter. Invade and J&T just traded spots there, the 2 teammates at Ferrari for tonight. George getting ahead of Mythic. Everybody here, oh, big slide from Joe Wilson. Everybody here, about 12th on back, is just all scattering all over, trying to find some places, because Liam gained places and then lost them. George also had that spin, and so did Joe Wilson. And Mintoki. Grandpa the championship leader with damage. Virtual safety car. No front wing for Grandpa. That is massive.
Stinker. I was going to put him a whole pit stop behind everyone now. And you can see their possible race strategies. I don't know if they're shown on your screen, but it's a wet to wet. We'll
see what the tire life is like. Big shout out to Bonkers gaining 12 spots on the start there for Red Bull. I don't even think we need tire strategies here. I think we just need to show you the leader gaps here. Or positions gained from our start. FBL up 2 places, Redfire up 2, Minions up 2. This is going to be similar to Japan last season, Eoin, where... Oh, little stack up there from FBL and those guys. This is going to be like Japan last season, Eoin, where... guys like Minions, Dom, they're the Geckos and Valks and whatnot, taking advantage of other guys' misfortunes.
Correct. Look at these runners on the slower cars. If we go back to green racing, taking
Bonkers
advantage.
Similar to Valk in that Japan race, by the way, gaining a lot of spots from starting at the back of the grid. But
He's
yeah,
already at the 5th after 2 laps technically of racing. He's not making another move.
For P4 on Dom. Does he give him the
like...
squeeze? Yes, he does. He forces him to back out, and that is now Bonkers' 4th place. Dom using some battery here to try to reclaim the place, and he is getting really racy here down to turn 3. Contact! He just ruined his good spot, but now he will stay in the points for the time being after that slide. Good enough from him to keep it straight.
bit of a silly idea of trying to go up the inside of a Red Bull at that corner when you're just going to get overtaken eventually anyway. But obviously trying to help out his academy friends by holding him up. Not going to do it that way anyway. J&T now got to get past Minions. And Wavy, this is a shock for P7. Wavy versus Red Fire Tiger.
Red Fire Tiger in his home race in France. Speaking of a home race, we have Liam for the home team making a move on the AlphaTauri driver making his debut tonight. Haas, though, I just want to mention, I mentioned it earlier, though, Owen. Oh, contact! Tadpole and FBL on the straight. That got out of shape from them two. Lucky enough they kept it straight, and FBL is still not giving up the place. Side by side here to Sector 3. And behind that, Kipu and Mintoki were side by side too. Mintoki is going to get the upper edge for now, but can she hold it? Side by side. More contact, more argy-bargy. Mythic getting Joe Wilson. I was just going to say about Haas, Owen. Last podium for them. Season 9, Round 9, Las Vegas. Instincts.
Very nice. I never got a podium for Haas.
You got a podium in that car once,
really
too.
Sad.
Believe it or not. Fastest lap for JTK. He's in the lead of the race in lap 4. And now Minions is trying to duck out and give the place to J&T, the Academy teammate. That is now his 5th place that he has been awarded.
Switching positions. Joe Wilson seems to be currently having an absolutely diabolically colossal fight with Mythic.
Oh! Wow. He got all out of shape there at turn 1. Mythic can take advantage now, and he will. The thing about... Oh, hold on. Mintoki down the inside of Kipu. This is a little bit egregious here to try to send a move at that area of the circuit, but she'll do it anyway, and she wants to get past the slower Alpine driver right now. She can't do so. Dom is back in the thick of things with Wavy and Red Fire, but this kind of race, look at this. A McLaren, 10th, a Mercedes and Red Bull down the order. This is a good chance for some of these lower teams to take advantage for points. Alfa Romeo haven't had any this season.
Dom has just pulled off an absolutely colossal move.
That was good. That was good from him. I saw that around the outside of Wavy. That's tough to do in the wet. Easier to do in the dry. Now, Mintoki is finally through on Kipu after battling corner after corner, trying to find a way past. And she uses the overtake button to try to stay ahead too. Her next target is FBL. Alfa Romeo here having a really good race. They've had 4 races in a row without any points. They deserve tons of credit. That was an issue from Wavy. I don't know what happened, but you might have caught the end of that.
You just seemed to lose the rear end a little bit there, going into the long sweeping right ender.
Just want to mention from our guys in the top 10 right now, Dom is on the back of Red Fire. Fire Tiger hasn't had points in his home race since that one event I'm talking about in Season 7, where he went from P15 to P6. That was for Alpine a little bit easier, but he's only one shy of P6 here for AlphaTauri. It'd be their best result in a long while that they'd have in Tier 2. Haas have not had a podium in 3 seasons, but Dom is trying to come back up the grid to do just that, down the inside and through. Yellow flags further on back. That's for the Aston. Oh, no, that's for Bonky this time. Double yellow flags. That's why. It was the last sector and the first sector. Bonker's around up there. And he under fuel, too, to make matters worse. So he's going to be put in a worse position. I just wanted to mention from the front of the field, by the way, just Minions. The only thing I was going to mention about him and Invade. Minions has not had a podium since Season 9. Alfa Romeo had one last season. And Invade has never had one here in Tier 2. But he's had one in Tier 3 of RPL and F2. Sorry, go ahead, Owen. I knew you were going to say something. Oh.
What is Liam cooking?
What has happened to Liam? He's just cut the corner entirely. A 10-second time penalty.
He must be really struggling. Overtake through the corners, which is usually a Neanderthal strategy, but alright, whatever. Jordan Williams is trying to recover himself after a incident-ridden start. Bonkers obviously started from the back.
Keep in mind, by the way, down the inside, Tadpole's going to go side by side with Red Fire Tiger. McLaren won this race back in Season 3. They're trying to get both cars here off the grid. And this is the long way around from Tadpole, but he slides in the process, and he makes contact with Red Fire, and there's a collision. Tadpole is the one worse off.
What's happened?
Red Fire Tiger and Tadpole came together.
That was such a weird incident from where I was looking. You know, they were just bargy, wheel to wheel, and just went flying. So that
I
was
think the
weird.
stewards will probably have that beer racing incident because both of them were both sliding into each other.
It was like an icebreaker,
George,
that
is he
corner.
looking for a move at turn 1?
Oh,
He's
I mean,
making Kipper
crazy if he
think.
is.
It would be. But Williams desperately need it. Liam is retired in the pit lane, but now George uses his overtake. We've already seen a desperate move at turn 3. George, last of the late breakers, and through.
Nice move. The two Ferraris are
nice
very
move,
close
actually.
together. JNT and Invade.
A Ferrari battle cooking for the podium right now. Here we go. J&T second in the championship. Trying to take this place and
Who's
trying
not
to also
letting him
take things off Grandpa, who's just got a 3-second penalty. Invade now with a penalty too. That's 2 drivers with their first track limit penalties in this race, and now J&T Gaming is finally through for 3rd place. I know Invade wouldn't want to give that up, but it's the Academy teammate, and the teammate of his at Ferrari today too, so you kind of have to give it up at that point.
So it's a very good race at the moment for 4 of the cars in the Ferrari Academy. They're 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th at the moment, so pretty good showing so far.
They don't have a second Haas. They have FBL in, who is, honestly, if I'm being honest, one of our slower drivers here in RPL. And when I spoke to him about coming back, he said he'd want a chance, but in one of the slowest cars, just to have fun and race around. But this time, he's having a lot more than just fun. He's in the top 10 for Alfa Romeo. Double points for them right now. And part of that is due to Bonkers' mishap earlier.
So Bonky and the Red Bull is going to be giving him a wake-up call. Invade has been overtaken by an Alfa Romeo.
I don't think it's too bad for Invade as long as he holds on to 5th. I know he's dropped off a little bit on pace, but he's got a lot more battery than the 2 guys in front of him. Further on back, there's battles galore here. Kipu and Joe Wilson, Mythic, just past Tadpole because Tadpole into the pit lane. Joe Wilson is through.
Oh, classic.
Tadpole, I know you said I'd be biased to you on stream, but I did that on accident. I'm sorry.
He's in his opinion, and he's lying. And
Talking a
Bonky
little
is
too
spun
fast
around again. Disaster.
Oh no. This is not good. This is the 3rd time I think he's had a big mistake. And it's really cost him now.
Jumped on board with him midway through his pirouette.
Oh, Red Fire moving on to braking! And that's right into the path of Wavy! And Wavy's not going to give this up. He says, I'm still there. Don't shut the door. I'm going to make you give me space if you're not going to give me space here. And they're still duking it out here into Sector 3. Now, turn 10 here in the wet. You might have to back off for. They both do, but they're side by side. Red Fire excelling ahead.
Bonky, another penalty, silly goose, but Wavy's going to stay out the inside. Now he's going for it.
Oh my god, does he give Red Fire the squeeze? He does! Wavy's through, and right now, even after a mistake from Mintoki earlier on, it is a double Aston Martin points right now.
War a battle there from Wavy Knife. Getting stuck in today.
Wavy is really showing some good pace, and he needs this badly after the last few races that he's had the last 2 weeks. Now, Mintoki spun earlier in the race, and remember, she was almost plumb last, and she's right now in P9 in this battle. Bonker speeds and retires from the race. Red Bull, leading the Constructors' Championship, have a car out the race, and Grandpa, who's P15, by the way, has a penalty too to his name. Right now, would have Hunted and J&T close in massively in the championship. Did I jinx, not Bonky, did I jinx, Gruggers with a penalty. Did I jinx Grandpa Owen by saying I don't think there's any way he can lose this championship, and then he blew a big lead again?
Well, sorry, I'm looking at some.
I was just gonna say, did I jinx Grandpa?
Well,
I think I jinxed Grandpa.
Grandpa's. I don't actually know what happened to him. I don't know if he got spun or if he just spun himself, but in Tokyo he's through in Red Fire Tiger. But yeah, we're gonna have to obviously see that after the race and have a little discussion. But both Red Bulls on an absolute stinker today. So
Speaking of
JT
Grandpa,
can
he's in the
take
back of
advantage.
Yeah, I was just gonna say with that Grandpa switchback time, Matoki got red fire in the process. George was just behind FBL, and Grandpa was behind Mythic, but no longer is. Grandpa threw up into 14th. But remember, he has a penalty at the expense of that, and his gap to the leader right now is 31 seconds. So, yeah, not beneficial from Grandpa at all, who came into today leading the championship, having a massive gap over Hunted and J&T, a 21-point gap, and that gap is going to come down if the race ends right now. Tadpole on Carvinus, side by side here, wheel to wheel. Tadpole getting ahead, and Tadpole staying ahead. Dom is close to Invade. That is within DRS range, but the thing is, we won't have any DRS today because, well, as you know, it's just pissing it down. Still got battles continuing. Oh, and we got George for 11th place right here, trying to take 10th place over from FBL.
Oh, FBL a wee bit off the road.
And does George keep his nose in there? Down the inside. He's going to be wheel to wheel with FBL. He shoves him onto the curb. And George will claim P10 over FBL. Does FBL try to retake the place and pick up the pieces once again? He can't for now. George will defend with the overtake button being turned on, and FBL does the same too. And now it's a 3-car train all the way to the chicane. Nearly 3 wide. Joe Wilson was thinking of it and thought better of it. Wow.
Good defensive driving from FBL, using all of his ERS boostage, but he is under fueled at the moment.
Yeah, look at, I was just going to say before, Owen, as the two Astons do a little bit of a swaparoo, look at how many, look at how many people underfueled this race. So many. I went through the field. Bonkers was one before he retired. I'm almost certain Liam was one before he retired. Oh, George with a massive snap.
Carvinus was underfueled as well. And so has JTK, the race leader, is currently underfueled. So
he has a big enough gap to where he can save fuel.
Will this give Hunter that confidence then to start pushing a bit more, knowing that he has the fuel advantage?
His first Tier 2 win came at this race 2 seasons ago. I'm going to go on to Invade and J&T stream to see anything with tire wear, if these guys will be pitting at some point here. They're not on their tire wear MFD part right now, but I would have to assume that we may see a pit stop here at some point in this race. I mean, they're saying the tire call is an interesting one to stick with what they got. 30% on the tires for J&T, so I think what we're going to have here is going to be what it is. I think, you know, everyone will stay with wet tires from what it looks like, but how long do you stretch it if you're wanting to? George on the move now for 10th place to try to get a point spot back. 3rd on the all-time podium list is a big win for George, but so at P10, contact! They're both into one another. That's FBL in the runoff and George with damage.
Deary me, this is a calamitous race for a lot of these drivers. The rain is really getting to them, the slippiness, as FPL now loses another position.
This is just going to be a race of survival, that's what it is. Blue Goggy disappointed that the one race it's wet, he's not allowed to drive. Well, I will tell you this, in terms of Tier 2, the wet races that I can remember from the last couple seasons, last season Imola, last season Canada, and then before that, Imola. Now, FBL with a massive send. Kipu with the cutback goes back through, but can he keep the place? The answer is yes. Kipu up to P11.
Gorge
now
into the pit lane.
Yes, that is much needed from him. Grandpa will take up place because of that, so maybe he won't be pointless after all today. FBL with Kipu now once again. These two good mates, I'm pretty certain. And Kipu is remaining ahead. One thing I was going to mention before George pitted, Invade is still running P5 with the penalty and has Dom right behind him. The Ferrari Academy with their lower cars, Minions and Dom up here, they're going to win out big. Haas got their first points of the season last week with Dom. He can't race Ferrari because of how good he's been. So He's really showing in Haas what he can do. And you know what? I would say, think about things here, Owen. The Chiller just got promoted to Ferrari in Tier 1. If Dom
did.
runs no ABS here, this would be a good shout to put him in Ferrari if the Chiller fails his objectives but stays within the Ferrari Academy.
I don't know if Dom can race Tier 1, because I'm pretty sure they would have chucked him in there already, but...
Depends on if he can make times. But if somehow he is able to clear up something, I suggest that it's what Ferrari does if the Chiller fails his objectives, because I spoke to one of the Ferrari Academy drivers in this race about him going to Ferrari full-time in Tier 1, and they didn't really agree with it too much. So a big decision from JNT right there to chuck him in Ferrari. Now a 3-car battle, which is going to chuck FBL back up one place. That's nice. And now Grandpa
Delaying the inevitable here, but it's scintillating.
with the up and under.
What I'm saying here with FBL. Was hunted into the plane.
Yes, he is. He's going to go to another set of wets. But this time, he's trying to go for an undercut. I do expect others to pit here based on what I saw with JNT's tire wear. Considering Ferrari is the worst tire wear, and the tire wear isn't too bad.
And Dominic.
Oh boy. Here we go. Into turn number 3. Dom is through. And Grandpa is still battling
Mega
Kipu.
for turn 1
I was just
and
going to say, I'm almost certain because of tire wear, you have to pit at one point this race. You can try to stretch it, but you're going to be in puncture territory, no doubt about it.
No, you definitely surely have to pit, otherwise your tires will literally explode. Even Grandpa, who had to pit at the start of the race, he's going to have to pit again. So he's sort of out of sync here with a lot of these drivers. Not really, actually. The only driver he's out of sync with is Hunted, because he's sort of catching back up to the lower points paying position. So if he can keep doing a pretty good job, he'll keep it on for a good recovery here. Grandpa.
Fire Tiger has been passed by Hunted, who already pitted. He's one of our only drivers to pit so far this race. Grandpa is another, by the way, which could come into play later on. Remember, you do not have to make a required pit stop in the wet. For those of you new here or not aware of that, you don't have to. It's been deemed a wet race, so you can go the full way. But your leader, JTK, has chose to come in, and JNT elects to do the same. However, the trickiest thing in the wet here is going to be get it down to the minimum speed of 37 miles per hour. JNT went very, very slow into the pit lane there, really trying to slow it down and get it in. And did Mintoki just cross the pit line right there on the white line? We'll have to see later on. That was caught on stream. So, Minions, Dom, and Invade the top 3. It's a Ferrari Academy top 3. And in fact, I think the last time Eoin that an entire Academy was on podium in Tier 2, it was Ferrari back in Vegas, but Ferrari Haas, Season 9.
Yes.
And here we go. Wavy Knife defending Hunted now. Hunted has JTK right up the road and can claim the net lead, but Wavy is giving him a fight for his driver, and Wavy has just costed him a half a second right there. Smart defending from Wavy. And also very, very tactical at that, because he did keep it clean.
It's very nice. Yeah, so the podium, all Ferrari drivers like you were mentioning, yeah. But Invade in the Ferrari should realistically be at the front of that, but he's at the back of them, so he's slower on pure pace than Minions and Dom, which is interesting. Maybe they should have put Minions in the Ferrari for this race.
Yeah, I mean, Minions and Dom, they've proven to be faster drivers, but with Invade getting a shot here in Ferrari and not always making the most of his shots except for the beginning of Season 9 with 1 or 2 races in that car, and FE, the one race in Abu Dhabi when he was put in Ferrari. Realistically, if he's not making the most of it tonight, he at least should be P6 at the very, very worst with that Ferrari. I mean, considering everyone else has had issues, though, you would expect a podium to be possible, and he was on podium at one point, and now Dom and Invader both into the pit lane. So where do they come out in comparison? We'll find out. This is going to be a big race out of the pit lane then, in comparison to JNT. Grandpa's in again. I'm not surprised about that. I didn't expect he'd make the full way on those tires, but let's see. Does anyone else try to come out here and stretch it the entire way. I'm interested to see. I want to
don't know
look
what
at
Mickey's
Invade's tire
doing.
wear. I've been trying to look at it, but yeah, wouldn't let me. Let's see, who do we have battling on track right now? We got J&T close to Wavy. We've got Mintoki on the back of Dom. That's interesting because Mintoki was not really anywhere near Dom, but that undercut really motivated her to get up there.
She's ahead of Invade as well in the Ferrari, so she's fighting for a pretty high position here. If she
Invade
can
was
keep
what,
up the pace.
P6? P5-ish? So, after spinning, she's making herself a really good contender for driver of the day. And Grandpa gets Mythic here for 12th place. With other guys still yet to pit in front of Grandpa, Grandpa still could get P10 on track. I just don't think it's going to be P10 after the penalties are
Here comes
applied.
JNT.
Invade is side by side with Mintoki. J&T side by side with Wavy. Ferrari versus Aston on two parts of the track. Almost contact with J&T and Wavy. J&T backs off and almost hits him there at turn 11. Now he'll try the up and under, but he loses the car in the process. Just something to mention about tires, Eoin, with these guys. Invade was on worse tire wear than J&T, and that lap that he pitted, he was on 55% tire wear.
Invade to the pit lane.
Does everybody pit here? Red Fire?
It's
Is he coming in?
tires.
Yes.
Since everyone's on the same tire, if you have the tire wear advantage, it's quite drastic. As we were seeing with the JNT and Wavy fights, the JNT was just so much more purchase off the corner. And you'll see now when
Hold on.
Minions,
Hold on.
oh,
Grandpa at the penultimate corner is through.
I've just seen that on the replay of the stream. I cannot believe how he's just done that without causing a massive collision.
That was in one of the most tightest spaces available for him.
But there you go. There's another
Impressive.
example of differences in grip. Obviously, this time it's not tire difference; it's the car difference. How much more confidence Grandpa has at a Red Bull to just absolutely send it on the inside of someone. And that is a
I just want to
brilliant
mention
move.
one thing here about the guys in the top three. If JTK is underfueled so badly to where he can't save any fuel and runs out of fuel, this battle for P4 is currently for the podium.
It is indeed. This could be very important, but Invade's got the penalty that's going to hinder him if this does end up being a close fight. Grandpa still
Watch all
got
the
a
battles
penalty
here.
as well.
We got four drivers, four different battles within striking distance. The closest one right now, George and Red Fire. Red Fire was having a good race going for his home race, and then I guess after these battles, he just fell back, and he was gaining places on where he started, but now in comparison to where he started, he's down 2 places. So, not the best from the home driver, Red Fire. No points from Alpine, it's going to look like for now, unless Kippu does something drastic. And the battle for P4 brews on. Yeah, so you
Williams
mentioned
is only P13 at the moment on his attempt to try and recover as well, but I don't think he's going to have the pace to get some points today. I thought he was going to be. I thought he was quicker than Joe Wilson there at the start of the race, but Wilson must have fixed whatever issues he had. And Hunted, the perennial bottler, gets a penalty which could cost him a potential win. It's just
Both
classic
McLarens
Hunted, really.
on that lap got track limit penalties. Literally, basically the same points, just different corners. Tadpole pitted, by the way. And we've lost 2 from this race. Just to remind you folks that this race last season also had no safety cars as well. So we've done a really good job only having the one virtual safety car for Grandpa.
Right behind Wavy, sorry to interrupt. Just
You're all good. You know, Grandpa is P9, and like I said, this can be points. P9 on track right now. P10 when penalties get applied. F1's in Monza tomorrow. FE is in Britain Sunday, and then we're in Italy next week for Tier 2 to continue the action for those of you wondering still. But Grandpa is on the back of Wavy, like you mentioned, and not going to go for it just yet. Tadpole got Mythic out of the pit lane. Mythic, the only runner yet to pit this race.
is he not pitted?
He is not.
What's he doing?
I don't know.
He's P16 anyway, so he may as well just pit and get it over with.
Well, he won't come out and lose any places. Grandpa
Here it
gonna go
comes.
for it. Gonna send
Oh.
it. That got a little ambitious from Grandpa, the championship leader. If these results get applied right now tonight, he's not losing out as much with at least 1 point. But keep in mind, though, fastest lap is JTK. Things can change drastically, and they have for sure in Tier 2, which we've seen many times before. A little slide from Wavy, and he still stays ahead, but Grandpa just losing grip right there, trying to gain time.
He's got less ERS and that Red Bull as well on the Aston Martin, so he needs to get the move done pretty much coming out of the corner, so then he can use the boost to try and force his way past. Or he can just send a good old classic dive bomb. But obviously needs to make sure that doesn't end in a calamity.
Just one reminder, Invade picked up a track limit penalty there just about 30 seconds ago. He already has a 3-second time penalty. You don't want to add on to the blows when Mintoki's already going to get P6 on penalties. So this battle continues.
You see, most drivers, yeah, every driver with a penalty you see on your leaderboards only got a 3-second penalty at the moment.
Grandpa using battery. Here he comes with the ERS deployed on the outside this time of Wavy. Does Wavy continue to defend? Wow. Oh boy. And Grandpa goes off.
Lately turned in on him.
And gets a 10-second, but he's now going to back off and let Wavy back through.
That is a ridiculous bit of driving there from Grandpa.
He's
He needed to take his time on the Aston Martin. He's in no rush. He's not going to get much if he gets past him. He's not going to gain 13 seconds in 10 laps. Now he might have just cost himself more time. Possible penalty in the steward's room. 10-second penalty
Will that
on the
10
circuit.
second get reduced, though, since he gave back the place?
Maybe, if we're
Comes
kind.
a big question. George and Kippu, side by side here to turn 12. Kippu hops onto the curb, and George propelling ahead. Grandpa pits, though.
Is he gonna
Grandpa
retire?
pits. And
What an
this is a
absolute
retirement.
idiot.
That is
Just don't
very
get
stupid.
people like him. He's in P8. You get past you get past Wavy or P9, whatever you are. Get past Wavy. Just get a penalty removed in the steward's room.
Oh my god.
It's just poor. It's,
Well,
just absolutely poor from
The
from driver to do
championship
that.
leader is out of this race. And if you want to hear any good news, if your Grandpa leading the championship right now, Joe Wilson with a penalty. The championship winner of the season has not won round 3 the last 4 seasons. So, I don't know, maybe this is a good sign that he didn't win round 3, and he won round 3 last time when he was battling for a championship 2 seasons ago. I don't know. You know, but I think it's very stupid because you can try and get that 10-second reduced. There's a big battle for P11 right now, and you can get a point out of it. I don't like when people give up.
It's just
Him,
just a lack of
Zatsy,
mentality.
Wavy, there's so many guys who give up for no reason, and I just don't understand it why, ever. Kippu threw on George. I don't understand. Oh! Constantina effect. Everybody slammed everybody, 12th to 14th. George had FBL slam in the back of him and Tadpole slam in the back of FBL. I think they kept it without damage, though. But, yeah, I just don't understand it. You know, as soon as your race goes bad, what's the point of retiring? You can get literally a point out of it. And, by the way, when Grandpa lost the championship 2 seasons ago in Tier 2, oh, FBL just sent it down the inside.
God.
Contact. I was just going to say, this is the difference it can make. These guys are battling for P11 right now
What has George just done
ambitiously.
there? He's just completely sent FBL off the track. That was cheeky.
Yeah, it was. I was
That's
just going to say,
rude.
every point might matter. Season 10, Tier 2, the championship went down to the final race with a 3-car battle. And now, here we are. I mean, you don't give up as much anymore, Zatsy, but still, there's a lot of people on that list that give up so much. I mean, Grandpa is one of them. Wavy's one of them. Who's on that list? Wavy not as much anymore. There's a lot of guys who don't do it as much anymore, but they did it so much before, and I don't understand it. Both Red Bulls. Double retirement, by the way. And Eoin, this is the first time since May of 2023, 41 races ago, that Red Bull will be pointless.
In all tiers or just Tier 2?
Tier 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's pretty disappointing.
I mean, if we're
I
going
think both
as far
drivers
back
should
as all
have their
tiers,
hanging their heads in shame today.
if we're going back as all tiers with tier 1 and tier 2, I mean, the last time it didn't happen in tier 1 was at the end of the game cycle in Japan, but the last time it didn't happen in tier 2 where they were pointless, I mean, that was at the end of the game cycle too, round 7.
Goodness,
So,
George and FPL having a ding-dong battle at the moment.
here we
Proper
go.
raucous stuff.
This has been back and forth for how long now? We got 7 laps remaining, folks, and we're not going to see a safety car as of the current moment with how things stand, but these two can change that if they just continue to battle lap after lap, corner after corner.
Okay.
Contact!
Oh no!
George has been
Groggers!
sent around. Wavy knife with a penalty. That's inside the points.
He's going to be really upset about that one. I can already hear him in the party screaming his lungs off. But JNT is right up the arse of Hunter there for P2. Already P2 technically with the penalty, but kind of on track to guarantee it because JTK is still under field, so this could be the real fight for the lead.
It still could be. The question becomes, how much do you underfuel by? Mintoki and Invade with a battle for their back. That's one with a penalty too. The one with a penalty that will relegate Hunted to third is this battle with J&T. FBL is into the pit lane. He had damage. Now, J&T turned on the ERS right there and still can't get through. Mintoki does the up and under on Invade. Invade tries to go back around the outside and slides and is through for now. But can he keep it side by side here? Pinching, drag race, neck and neck. Mintoki through.
Oh no!
But Invade has just done the up and under the proper way at turn 10 and intercepts that place. And now, our race leader was the cause of yellow flags. JTK has just lost 3 seconds.
He's had a major incident. He's still under fueled. He's just ruined it. He's absolutely ruined it because he's now got to conserve his fuel while defending on 2 absolute rapid boys behind him.
Right now, we're looking at a potential first career win for J&T Gaming if things stay the way they are. JTK is at a risk for fuel. Hunted's got a 3-second time penalty, and J&T is about to be better on ERS here than JTK and Hunted, who's just got another 3-second penalty for exceeding the track limits.
Twats.
J&T has had 5 RPL podiums and 1 pole. All those podiums come with P3. And right now, this is going to be P2.
Can't believe that from Hunted. The amount of times this man has got a stupid amount of penalties in a race. You think he'd learn it by now? And Gorjamp Williams retiring in the pit lane. Another disgraceful driver giving up.
Yeah.
Look at Corvunis. This man's been last pretty much the whole race, but he's still going.
He's about to get lapped. And there still could be a safety car during this race too. And he could be in it for points. That's why you never give up. And, you know, I know George may have had rear wing damage, so I'm not going to get on him too much about it, because he actually may have had some from that FBL contact there when FBL just plowed the back of him. I would add Bulgaga to the list of drivers who do give up, though, because he did technically intentionally cause a safety car. I mean, he tried to the week before in Austria. That'll be in the 7th out of context of RPL that I did pick up on in terms of clips. But Hunted is now trying to defend for all his life here for P2 and see if those 3-second penalties can be appealed. But I doubt it. I don't think they'll get appealed. But now your goal really is just to stay P2 on track here and maybe get the win on track while being demoted to P3. Maybe P2 if JTK runs out of fuel early enough. I mean, right now, he's underfueled so badly to where this is not disappeared for him at all.
I don't know what he's done. Usually, you're not too fuel heavy in the wet, I don't think. I could be completely wrong on that, but...
Let's see who else is underfueled. Who else is underfueled? I know there was someone else. FBL? That's it. They're the only ones left in the race who underfueled. That's it. Here we go. JNT Gaming is on the move and is going to try to fight for the lead now. If he gets this overtake done, he doesn't. He backs off, concedes the place, and thinks about it, and we'll have another go here soon. I don't remember the last time a Tier 2 race was fully wet the entire way through. I want to say it was back in Japan in Season 8 when I believe it was... No, Season 7 maybe. Was it Groggers who won that race? I think it was Groggers ahead of Molly. Or was it Tadpole then Groggers and Molly? I don't know. Either way, interesting thing about Molly that I was going to mention here, with that being said, I know I bring up his name with that conversation about no wins. He has the most podiums without a win. J&T, just a spot behind that with Zakaria, tied for second, 5 podiums without a win. So if he takes a P2 or P3 tonight here and doesn't win, he'll tie Will for the top of that list of most podiums without a win. But if he does win, well, he'll take himself off that list and become the 38th different Tier 2 winner.
And a beautiful Ferrari on the top step yet again.
Speaking of Ferrari, Mentoki is trying to take a place away from Invade on track this time for P6. She's had a nice recovery drive. I don't know if I'll give it driver of the day, though, but she was, what, P17, P18 earlier in the race after that spin. She's really put on a good performance coming back to the field. She's one who's worth a driver of the day mention, and in that fight for it. Minions and Dom as well, top 5 for Alfa Romeo and Haas. I don't remember the last time Alfa Romeo and Haas both got top 5 in a race together. I'd have to guess it was a while, but George not happy with FBL. That's what we know from right now in the Tier 2 chat, and we're side by side for P10, the last point spot. Here's Tadpole going around the outside and taking the place. But here comes Redfire Tiger trying to challenge it back. And Tadpole does have the better line. He's through and staying ahead.
The slipstream here is Mr. Redfire Tiger. He's got less ARS though, and less power in that car pretty much. I don't think it's going to be a contest, as both drivers using everything.
I really do want to check the last time Haas and Alfa Romeo both finished top 5 in a race. I mean,
never.
If Minions gets any closer, he could be getting a podium in an Alfa Romeo, and Redfire Tiger, the home driver, picks up his first track limit penalty. He was going to be in the points based on penalties when they got applied, but now he's not. So very unfortunate from him. But that's a driver mistake, though, so I don't think you're going to get that appealed.
Well, I think if JTK somehow wins this race by underfueling, I think I'll give him driver of the day for myself for just driving an absolute stellar race. You know, he's just...
Yeah, I mean, he spun out once from the lead, so if he's able to maintain
a false sense of hope.
A good enough gap, then fair. I mean, for me, it's going to be between Dom and Minions, though, I think. Dom had a really good race in Austria last week, but this is just a step further. I wish he could make the Tier 1 times, because he would really deserve a Ferrari more than DeChiller as the current moment. DeChiller had a really good race last week, though.
This is my friend.
I'm not trying. I'm not trying, but I'm just saying. He had a really good race last week in Zandvoort. His best race of the season, Owen. He had no track limit penalties or warnings. P4 for Alfa Romeo. You know, he does deserve credit. But I don't think one good race is going to earn you a Ferrari. Dom has had 2 good races here in Tier 2 and has an FE pole and podium. So, I don't know. I mean, that's...
the pressure.
I know. I mean, that's why it's a little bit tougher to kind of speak about that. He'd be the only driver, I think, over to Chiller right now that deserve that Ferrari more. I mean, and yes, I'm even saying KVS is right on par with the Chiller in terms of deserving it.
Well, I'll be forever upset that J&T decided to give Gecko the Ferrari seat for next season over me.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I was very upset. I would have been off to Ferrari at the earliest opportunity if he just said yes. But he took too long.
I figured out the answer for Haas and Alfa. The last time that Haas and Alfa Romeo finished top 5 in a race both in Tier 2 was back in Austria, round 3, 2 seasons ago. That was with you and FBL.
Look at us. I remember that race. It was absolutely horrible.
You probably should have had a podium that race.
I was fuming. I was absolutely rapid that race, but then I just got taken out.
Invade was in contention for a podium too. I mean, that race, everyone was wide open. Leon was in contention for a top 5.
That's crazy.
One thing to mention too, by the way, folks. Obviously, F2 no longer a thing in RPL, but 4 years ago, yesterday, Leon's only RPL win came in F2 Monaco. And we could be seeing a first win tonight from JNT if JTK's fuel does not last here. He's tried to use some battery, but JNT is using more battery to try to attack for second place right now, which is actually costing them time.
AlphaTauri there of Carvunus.
I do think, though, Owen, if you do run out of fuel here, if you're JTK, you're going to be in a better position than you would be in the dry, because the people will not catch you as quick.
More, yeah. Oh, JTK's fuel is hovering over underfueled and overfueled, so I think he's somehow recovering it.
So he's going to be right on the edge then. If he's going to run out, it's going to be on the last straight,
Well,
it seems, then.
It's not green. It's not yellow anymore. It's
all right.
green. So he's done it.
Interesting. Interesting.
So he's gained time while saving fuel. That is absolutely immense. But perhaps it's
But I'd still be careful here. I'd still be careful here because it's happened before where it does go back and forth, and that light does change in the last few laps because of the laps counting down. It happened to Reese in Silverstone when I was on board with him in Tier 1 before. It did come back on yellow, and he was just green and red back and forth. Not going to be ambitious. Not going to go for a risky move. Smart decision there, but they're just costing each other time.
He's been stuck behind for too long. He could have caught JTK if he got past him, but he's taken too long. It's too late now.
And right now, as Mentoki goes through an Invade, Minions is up to P3 on the net podium. Invade with another penalty. Side by side, he goes the long way around and is through for 6th place once again, but that second penalty is going to cost him. Hunted will be losing P3 right now. He will be losing it to Minions, who made a return last season in RPL at Japan, and actually has a podium there for McLaren. So he doesn't only just have the one win for Red Bull and podiums for them, he does have the the podium for McLaren there. And JTK is using all that battery now.
JT pulled off an absolute stinker. He should have got past a lot earlier. He's taking too long. No, it's pretty much pointless now because JTK's won this race. He's gone. Unless he makes another mistake, JT cannot win this race.
But he can get his best result in RPL P2 if he holds on right now. As for JTK, I don't see the fuel light back up. I can't see the steering wheel. I'd like to see it to see how much fuel it says, but it does look like he's lifting and coasting.
I'll tell you right now, if I can have a look, it says point. I'm looking really tight now. He's plus 0.01. Oh, plus 0.1. So he's fine.
Okay. You know what you can do if you want to zoom in and see it better? Do you use the magnifying glass in Xbox where you zoom in? You could use that if that's what you do. So, yeah, Tadpole through for P9. Little bit of contact in the process with Joe Wilson. He's not had the most impressive race as Joe Wilson, but he's at least in the points for the time being as JTK starts his final lap, and JNT also starts his final lap for his best result right now. Minions will be taking P3 as long as he doesn't get a track limit penalty like his academy teammate Dom just did.
I'm gonna go through everyone's field, see who's close. Minions is plus.
He's blinking.
0.4.
JTK's blinking.
He's 0.1. 0.1.
0.1 in the red?
0.1 in the green at the moment.
Okay. So he might barely coast across the line then. He's got a good sizable gap. But fuel has been a concern for this guy the entire race.
Minion's also in the red. He's 0.4. No one else in the red. FBL is currently underfueled, but I believe he's a lap down, is he? No, he's not.
On the lead lap still.
No, he's on the lead lap, so
lap down, I think,
he's
is at
gonna have to
AlphaTauri.
save his fuel. JTK.
All right, here he comes to the final few corners. JTK got dropped as a Red Bull full-time driver at the start of last season. And then he came back, went to PC, and started winning races, and now the Fuel has held on just in time for his first win with Mercedes and his third Tier 2 when JTK claims victory here in a wet race at France. J&T, best result for P2, and Minions in his return to RPL does put Alfa Romeo onto the podium.
Absolutely sensational for Minions. He was just absolutely rapid today.
Mintoki spun out earlier on. She'll claim P6. That's a really good result from her after the malfunctions earlier on. Dom, P5, best Tier 2 result from him as well. Wavy Knife, first finish of the season, becomes his first points. Invade, a disappointing race for Ferrari, but his first points of the season too. P7, Hunted only got P4. Tadpole, P9 for McLaren. And Joe Wilson will be the last point scorer across the line for Mercedes, giving them a repair job to do. P10. Redfire in his home race comes across P11, but congrats to J&T. Best finish as well. I know you didn't get the win, but he definitely deserves some credit for that one. Same with Minions. A return for Alfa Romeo to the podium. They're second in Tier 2 this game cycle. All time in terms of podiums for them, though, in Tier 2. They now have more than Williams. They've got 3 in comparison to Williams' 2. As for Minions, though, as a driver, though, it'll be his 5th podium. And in terms of different teams, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what, his 3rd different team? He had a podium for McLaren. He had a podium for Alpine, and he had a podium for Red Bull. So now it's his 4th different team. Mythic will be the last one to cross the line. Kipu, FBL, Mythics, just some notable drivers outside the points. And Mythic is the last one to cross the line. The AlphaTauri driver in his debut outside the points and a lap down. Only one a lap down.
Lovely little race.
He said he was 1.3 laps in the Redwood Fuel. Fuel saving the entire race. JTK. I think driver of the day for me, I mean, I have to give it to either JTK or Minions. An impressive race from them both. He takes a selfie too, for a good measure, on that podium. I didn't know if phones were allowed on the podium, but you know what? His first win with Mercedes, though, surely deserves a selfie with that. Mercedes win in Tier 2 for what is a 2nd consecutive season. And in terms of different seasons, though, it's their 10th different season of the 12. And Alfa Romeo on the podium. You know what's funny about Alfa Romeo and Williams that I was talking about their podiums? They've both been on podium in the same season. Last season they were when Gecko got a podium at Japan, and then you were on the podium, Eoin. And they had the same thing happen in Season 6. But Alfa Romeo claiming their 3rd podium with Minions from P8.
Yeah, so upset that
Shout out to Tadpole.
couldn't get an extra podium for Williams.
From P18 to P9. Yeah, exactly.
No, they've
Jack
been
Miles and
overtaken.
you are the only podium sitters for Williams for Tier 2. Here's your results, though. Here's the rundown. I won't take a screenshot because I have to get the DNFs. We lost 4 from this race, folks. A Williams, 2 Red Bulls, and an Alpine. But, yeah, I was just going to say about Tadpole P18 to P9. It's not very easy in the wet to gain spots on track. It wasn't as impressive as Mintoki's recovery, but it still deserves credit because from really what was the last row on the grid, points from them is at least something to deserve a mention. Same with Mintoki, of course, a spin and then recovered a P7. That's probably my 3rd place runner for driver of the day, but I'm going to give it to either JTK or Minions. What do you think, Eoin, in terms of driver of the day?
I would definitely give it to JTK. Certainly see fuel while gaining time. It was absolutely mesmerizing.
Yeah, I mean, they were just battling it out, Hunted and J&T. They really timed it to perfection then. You know, battling it out to kind of give JTK that big buffer. And really, although J&T didn't get the win that he would have wanted, he actually helped his academy teammate get onto the podium, Minions, who only decided he was going to race here just 2 hours before the race. And, you know, I think that's a really deserved podium there. I spoke to him at the beginning of last season before Japan when he made that return at round 4 last season, and from the back of the grid got a really good result too. He said he hadn't been racing in RPL for personal reasons, and had a lot of bad stuff going on. I don't think he mentioned it and wouldn't want it mentioned, but for a podium with a fourth different team though, I know it's not driver of the day from us, Eoin, but he deserves a lot of credit. That's really impressive and probably a really happy moment for him with, something that was mentioned last season as to why he wasn't racing.
Yes, as minions, is that, yeah?
Yeah, Minions, yeah. Alpha Romeo.
Yeah. I was terrified. I remember when he was made my teammate in Tier 2 when I was in the Red Bull, and he was in the Red Bull because I knew I was told how quick he was and saw his lap times. I was absolutely traumatized. Luckily, I was able to beat him in the races. But yeah, he is an absolute weapon can um, when he can perform well in the race. He's got the quality pace. It's just in the races sometimes he could fall apart a bit, but if he sorts that out, which it seems he has, then it's looking good.
So, because JTK took the win and JNT took P2 and Grandpa didn't score any points, the gap for the championship lead is now 3 points. And we'll find out what happens next week in Monza too, while the constructors race also gets closer too. Ferrari didn't have the best of races with Invade, but they got points with him, which is what matters because that's going to take them, I think, the constructors lead here with Mercedes tied with Red Bull now and McLaren not too far back as well. We've got a proper four-way fight for the constructors too. Lots of changes here in terms of the constructors and the drivers championship, and lots of things to look forward to. So we'll sign off now with Ryan Searles and Eoin McMoran on the commentary for tonight.
Yay.
Next week and for the rest of the weekend, here's where to catch us. F1 tomorrow for Tier 1 in Monza. Tomorrow, same time as always. Formula Endurance is in Silverstone on Easter Day. On Sunday. That's always a good race. Britain will be fun to watch. Home race for the drivers. Home race tomorrow for the chiller. Also, next week in Tier 2 will be that same home race, but for the Tier 2 drivers. We're in Monza next Friday at 3 Eastern, 8 UK time for the last race of the European stretch. Until next time, folks, whether you watch us tomorrow, Sunday, or next week in Tier 2 on Friday, Eoin and Ryan both signing off. Have a good one, folks, and we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye. See you then.